Temple Records is a record label set up by young people for young people. We work with all genres of music, and today we have 3 of our very talented young producers. So if I start off with Oshin, better known as DJ Koyi, he's a DJ and producer, and his influences are garage, house, and bass music. Okay. So if you want to come up, Oshin. Give it up for Oshin. Woo!
Yeah, the track today is called Clipper, and it's kind of called Clipper because I just started messing about with the lighter and recording it, and then I started getting like millisecond samples of voice and just stretching them out and mucking about with them. So pretty much everything you hear apart from like the low bass tones is just field recordings and recordings of voice and lighters and stuff that I put together and stuff. So yeah, hope you enjoy.
Stonking, wasn't it, that? Pretty stonking, that. When you say influence, you say garage and house and all this stuff, yeah?
Yeah.
So do you ever pick up any of the early 80s electro stuff?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, because I'm hearing Kraftwerk and Al Fish for a start, which were very clean productions in the 80s. They came out on a set of albums. Simon Harris was usually kind of very familiar, you know, that kind of Simon Harris box set stuff. Even though it was kind of a kind of slight gentrification of all of the breaks that we had, someone had to do it. But it might be worth looking back into those areas as well. But you've got a really Al Fish especially, and it has a real that Kraftwerk feel. I think rounding out your 808s is a real thing to do. What are you using for your 808s?
Massive.
You're using Massive. I think you can go even further on the field range of that.
Yeah.
And the difference. That's probably because you're monitoring that you haven't got you can't hear the depth of field in that. I'm not sure what you're using, but I think you can go more on that. And are you using sort of spectrum analyzer at all? You get any access to spectrum analyzer? There's a few plugin. What I'm going to do with Khan is who's with me. I will recommend some plug-in spectrum analyzers that really crack copy things that you could just get. It's very easy to look at and see, very easy where that is, because there's probably about 3 layers of that where it's not there. And I think that it might be worth a look to be able to kind of use the kind of, whether it's sampled 909 underneath that, just to give it the harder edge of the B line, especially on drops on 32s and 64s, it drops. The stab synth bass, which is wicked, by the way, love that, really Cheers. Good, because I'm a bit of a stab fanatic. Yeah. In the old West, when I was your age, basically doing that kind of stuff. But this stab, I think that it'd be good to take that, because it's the main motif, to be able to take that and close the reverb on it at some point to make it just jump out of the track.
Yeah.
And it may jump out and do something else, whether that's a kind of a different time delay or something else. But I think the stab would need that. And I think the kind of ding, 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 ding. I think you've got to be able to just back that off a little bit at some point, just to let the 808 aspects of the bass music stand out.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing with what I've realised with electronic music, because I don't program, I refuse to engineer. I always have done. I've been looking at monitors and looking at screens over the shoulder of people since it was vertical on Atari. Because it's my choice as an artist as me, because I come from the graffiti background where I'm already working in layers. I know what I want to do and what I want to achieve with that. And the great thing about that is it just gives you a different viewpoint. I can be very, very aggressive with the way that what I don't want. I know exactly what I want, and it's good to be able to stand back from that. I think the stab aspect of it is really, really strong, and the mature stab that comes on about the call and response, as we call it in electronic music, when it opens up with the other stab, which is at 346, also I've mentioned on the 346. I also think that the first time I hear that stab, I think it's almost like saying, I don't think we should. It's almost like throwing a pebble across a pond. I think let people hear it for that 16 and then just back it off, and then you bring it back in with the other stab.
Yeah.
Because I think it just has more effect, because I'm waiting for it. I think when I hear that, I think it's just going to go now. And it's just, okay, it's just held off a bit. But generally, the level of production is brilliant and clean, and the space of sound where it's placed is really good.
Thank you.
Really like it. And I mean, just as a matter of fact, how many compositions have you done in your, what you would say? I'd say I've got 30 or 40 that I really love. I've got about 70 that I don't want to play anybody. But is there anything, would you say you're coming of age with electronic music, and how many compositions do you have? Loads,
yeah, loads.
So many unfinished pieces of work.
Yeah, I just need to finish them off.
But are you, in terms of your 1 to 10 scale, what is that for you? Are you?
It's about an 8. There's fine tuning that I want to do, and
I want to play devil's advocate. What are you not happy with about it?
Just the production isn't as clean as I'd like it, and some placement.
So, but arrangement-wise,
I'm happy with it. There's some section. There's the first drop section. I think it's a little bit too long.
Right.
With the, as you're saying, the clink bit.
Yeah, it's almost as if you marry up those the first stab when you hear it and you just drop it in and out, that will push everything back up here, so that drop section can then be shortened and it'll make sense.
Yeah.
You follow me on that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what's really, I know it's going to sound really weird because I'm old enough to be a dad probably, but one of the most interesting things I think about having my hands tied behind my back in a good way is that it's always good to get a flip chart. I know it's mad, or something that you can put paper on it, and literally, your screen's here, man. Yeah, your screen is here. The screen is blocks. It's Lego. It's buttons. It's Lego, and we know that. It's easy. Monkey can do it. But in terms of outside of that screen, you've got to look at the track as a piece. It's beginning here, ending here. I don't want to build this, and actually draw the shape and look at it in real time. 0, 0, 0. 5 minutes. And break it down into minutes and think, where do I want to get that to? Because most of this electronic music is in that formulae template. But for you, it might be worth looking at your last 20 compositions, but look at it as math and think, and look at them on an arrangement page laid out, and see if you're dropping in the same place you always do. Am I starting in the same place, and am I just changing it at the first 32 bars, then 64? Because with electronic music, there's a very big danger of that. But I think the difference with striving to be original is not taking it too far out the norm, but looking at what your strengths are with that. What tracks are working in the arrangement window as far as time's concerned.
Yeah.
what really works in math, and then be able to cover it up with the magic, if you like.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I think it's brilliant. I think
Cheers.
it's a really good sound. Good.
Thank you.
Cool.
Give it up. Okay, next up we've got two brothers, better known as Stay Hungry. We have Theo, who's a producer and MC, and his brother Alex, who's a talented singer-songwriter. Come up, guys.
Hey, man.
Hey there. This track that we've got is called Long Time. No pun, but it's been quite a process, and what you're hearing is sort of still work in progress. And we've actually got a video to go along with it. We weren't sure on whether just displaying the beat or then adding or showing you the vocals, which we've got on top, to make it a whole song. But the video we've sort of filmed, and it sort of taught us a lot. Coming back and changing it, looking at the video, it sort of showed us on how we should be going about this. But we sort of almost have hit a wall, and we found ourselves removing verses, adding choruses, adding what we didn't intend in the first place.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's started with a sample, Dexter One's Out Sweet as Pain, and then Alex added the bass line on guitar, and yeah, built it up.
Okay. Did you play the guitar or you?
Yeah, I play guitar and I play bass, and
Okay.
Theo bought the sample and did the percussion.
Okay.
And we just went from there. And I think really we just like to hear from you how we could get the
Okay.
vocals to sit in the mix. But yeah.
Okay. All right.
See what you think.
In and out, and then I'm back again. I've been about, yeah, you can ask a friend, but care less about what they heard or said about me. Yeah, that's my word from my mouth, you heard, so tell her don't doubt me. Cause there's too much on the line to miss this or miss that. You take the piss, I take my shot, and I don't miss that. Middle finger linger, tell them they can kiss that. Wish the worst upon my team, I tell them take your wish back. I'm bored, scream, that's the score. They told me take my time, but no surprise, I'm back for more. That's a fool to a matador. Can I get some love for tease? Some man disagrees, well then tell them that's a door. Capiche? Enough said. If you don't get, stay hungry, it ain't my fault, the fork missed your head. I say grace before dinner, then before bed. Now look at me, my whole team stays well fed. Stay hungry. That's enough said. And I can never make up my mind. Mine only ever makes me, hey. And I can never take up my time. All the time only ever takes me. See, there's right or wrong, and then there's this. Tell me which one you see. Just know that I know myself. Before you claim that you know me. Hey. Been doing this for a long time. 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 Hey. Been doing this for a long time. 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 Hey. Been doing this for a long time. 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 Hey. Been doing this for a long time. 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 Hey.
Cool. Round of applause. Yeah, I mean lyrically, you know, you're writing, and I think you got to write from the heart, whatever. And I think I think the video thing, you came straight in and said video straight away, bam. You just can't think about that for now. That's the mistake that a lot of young producers make. They're going straight. I want the video and singing that. So music's what counts, really. The video is just the afterthought that you put on that after. But I think that the thing where the conflict is with your vocal is that it's the same range as your guitar. So it's fighting the same frequencies. The piano is the strength of the track because it's like slightly down. You can get it probably even an octave more down, a little bit more. But the piano is really, I would concentrate on EQing the piano out and getting that as the main spine, and the guitar, using the guitar in the first change, in the first real drop. That's what I would do. But I think that I think the motif of been doing that for a long time is a bit too long. Do you know what I mean? If I was speak my mind about it, but I think generally, if you just look at the facts of where you're placing everything, because the voice, your top line, most hip hop or most stuff that is based in that kind of music, you'll find that it's a lot easier to make. English producers by default just throw everything in there and layer it. If you look at a lot of American production, and grime especially, you take it all back. There's nothing really in it. So the vocal, it's not really that. But the main motifs they use stand alone. They stand alone in their own range, because it's not really bass heavy or anything else. Do you know what I mean? So I would really look at getting the guitar out of there and just putting that in the middle on its own when it comes in with itself. Do you know what I mean? And then you can back it up with something else. But I'm not sure. What are you recording on? By the way, what are you recording on equipment wise?
Logic 10 with a Focusrite 2IT.
Okay, it's just all about your range and your placement.
Yeah.
I think spend a little bit more time looking at the stems of each sound. You know, what I always do with a lot of stuff is you let stuff run. Say you got five things running, vocal, bass, drums, and just run through for like a good minute and a half from bar zero, and just listen EQ-wise. Have you done the best you can do? Don't worry about what else has got to go on top. For me, the philosophy is that if you've got 4 legs on a table and one of them's a little short, it doesn't matter how much you polish it, it's not going to look right. It's not going to balance right. So you've got to make those things stand up alone as they are, as nice sounds that balance right and wrong. I think there's a lot of mid stuff that you're pushing and maybe smashing a little bit on it, you know what I mean, trying to get out of it. Sure. When you're not going to get that out of that. What you're going to get out of it is by not putting the guitar in the same range as the vocal and letting that breathe. So it's letting you come through, and the piano is, you know, if I hear that more and it's placed just below the vocal, it's going to work a lot better for you, man. But generally, lyrically, I think, yeah, you know, lyrically, I think with any MC, I've always been, or guys that spit, it's your story, man. Stay with the storyline. It's your thing, and it doesn't matter about, you know, because you're getting distracted by the video and everything else. That will work once that arrangement is done and it sounds a lot better for you. The song will come alive a lot more. Yeah. But I like it. It's cool. It's still a good vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you.
Cool.
Cool. And then last but not least, we have Max Wilco,
Max.
DJ and producer. His influences go for everything from blues right through to techno. And he's a hard-working producer.
Like that.
So yeah, come up, Max.
With this track, I basically wanted to create something original, something a bit different to what people normally hear. I primarily based it upon techno, but I use like drum and bass and dubstep sort of influences to take the tasty bits out of it and try and create something a bit more.
Cool.
Yeah, but I called it Phobos because it's a moon on Mars, which I think describes its atmosphere as well.
Cool. That is excellent. That's really, really good and very, very strong. The EQing, I mean, it's top drawer, mate. I'm afraid. I'm saying you're going places, kid. No, you know, I was in Ibiza with Claude and a few of the other Claude Von Stroke and a few other lads, and obviously Claude plays a lot lighter stuff. Do you know what I mean? This is a lot. You know, this is good. It's really good, and I think that the double kick thing, which is I call it the trip. I think I can see these stops are part of your identity. I used to say Doc Scott was the kind of guy when he rolls. It's not the sound he's making. It's the space between the sound he's making. You've got a lot of good space in that stuff. I could see that played by a lot of the boys immediately. I think it's really, really strong, and love to hear more of it. It's really good. And I think the little shadow kind of, I think that's really great. And arrangement wise, left it till like 2 minutes. Let's just left it and went have that there. I could see a real strong, the real good techno aspect of it, waiting for one motif to just be all the way down. Let's get that repetitiveness, and it just one thing changes it, and it just flips the tune, and it just gets it to another little level. And that is really, really good. I mean, a lot of my mates are in Berlin every weekend playing, and some of the nights there, it's that kind of sound. Do you know what I mean? And it's the only music I'll go out to and dance to, apart from drum and bass. Is going out to techno nights, good techno nights, and that's really good. I can't see anything to do on that. I think you're being you, and the track has character, man. Straight away it has character, and you think, oh, where's he going with this? All right. I was flicking around here, having a bit of a laugh, isn't he? Really good, and you know, just more of it, mate. That is very, very good. And I like the one thing I did like was the DJ flick on the fader kind of vibe. You kind of muted it down. That's it, yeah. You muted a mute, right? I could hear it. And I think there's a couple of times where I heard it mute. But doing those kind of things. It was what I used to hear when I used to hear my favourite DJ warming up. I was warming up. He just flicked the mixer. Right? He just flicked it. Yeah, he's getting ready. He's just flicking it. You know, he's just going. And I can hear that in the music. So you translate it. I can see what you've translated. You're inspired by it, and you want to be there doing it. And I can see the DJ aspect is actually embedded in the record, as opposed to it just being I'm just pushing buttons and hitting numbers. And that's really good. That's character. That serves purpose. Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
I just think that the amount of opportunity that young people have in music right now is absolutely spellbinding. We didn't have that. I was going to make a bit of a joke about it, that I was really late, but I used to wait for Groove Rider in the rain with a dub plate, hoping that I'll see him to give it to him to play. And when I did, never played it because I couldn't get in the club. It's one of those things that you guys have got all of this software around you now that we never had it like that. And I think it's always when you get the old man with the big collars going, I never had it like in my days. You know, I'm still playing out every weekend. Every night I'm playing out on the weekends. The great thing about it is that, and by choice of not being a producer but being an artist first and foremost, is that I don't obey to technology at all. It's there to be fucked with. It's also there to go beyond what the purpose of what it does. And exploring a genre and going back and finding people like Derek May and looking at Underground Resistance and looking at some of the early stuff. You know, because it's worth listening to some of that stuff, some of the Model 500 stuff. Not just to think, well, we're doing something new now. It's not like George Best on a KC football because we've got Ronaldo now. I get that. There's new producers in the field and electronic. You know, most engineers now, they're doing it themselves. It's all, you know, it's all shop lot. But it's good to hear and appreciate what they were making it on because they're applying the soul. And a lot of people now aren't applying that to the music. And that's where it fails badly in any genre. You know, you guys got to be you, you know, write lyrics, spit, you know, be able to, you know, look, if you're doing instrumentation, just make the instrumentation work for itself first before you put anything on it. Get the table level right, you know, and that's really, really important that you apply yourself to the technology because the technology now, I've looked at glitch programs where you push the button, it can alternate over 1 minute, whatever pattern you put into it, and you go, oh, I like that one, I'll have that one, and you put it there and you just put it all together like Lego. Anyone can do it, but experimenting even more with not just the plug-in side of stuff and thinking, I want to write music, but I want a bit of that with a bit of that, but look at the archetype of inspiration as opposed to I'm just going to go and sample it or take it. Do you know what I mean? It's really important to do that, and I think that you'll grow as a character in your music because, you know, we do imitate. Art is imitation. If I've sampled loads of people, but it's taking something, spinning it around, so you think you can't hear what I've done, can you? And that's the magic in the music which people have often forgot. And it's good that you have an establishment like this to come and really hang out together and play music. The one thing that I think is probably sad is within genres is, hey, somebody play something, record them, man. You were saying about the lighters, which is really good, in the field. Nothing better than going out and recording in the field, man. I've got subway trains, breaks, madness, stuff that I wouldn't even thought of, you know what I mean? You can go and buy sample packs, yeah, but that's not the journey. You can listen to that record and go, I took that from that machine, you know what I mean, that place. I did that. And that's where the character gets embedded in the music. And we losing that it's not just about just being, all math, because that's not going to last you too long. You won't have a long career by doing that. Because every DJ has a sell by date. If you're just playing up front, bam, yeah, there'll be someone next year taking over you or whatever else. But in production and making music, that lasts forever if it's right.
Okay, guys, we're going to open it up and do a bit of a Q&A with the Remix Academy students. Does anyone have a question for Goldie?
My own style from the very beginning. I applied my character. My experience of making music was getting all of my favourite records, sampling every section that I wanted, like a pack of cards, shuffling them, and filling up two S1000s immediately, so there's no sample space left, and just going, now I've got to arrange it. Because the key for me with building up your own style is about arrangement. Most of the artists on my label I can recognise within 16 bars, immediately. Doesn't matter if they're trying to trick me either. I can recognise them by their sound. It's like a smell, like a lamppost kind of vibe, and it really is. And we do it in clubs all the time. It's you, man. I know it's you. And the character is built out by being up front. There is no timid boy in the queue or girl when it comes to making music. A lot of people that are there's a lot of people that I know spent years just, Bevan's a great example. Bevan's Burial, as a producer, he's done some amazing stuff. And he came on the back of Garage in Blue Note and he never went there. But he's just so passive. He's a very quiet guy. But his music is just that kid who walks, he's walking around at 3 and 4 in the morning. And you can feel that in the music. It sets the template for everything. And character, if you're honest from the beginning with your character in the music, that will last you as your character develops. I've seen a lot of stuff, and I'm not going to name them because I was with them yesterday, a few of the boys that are up there doing, kind of records that are very commercial, and they say, come back and do it again. There's nothing wrong with commercial music. I like popular music. I don't like music that goes pop. And the importance of that is some great pop songs, popular songs, are written really well and will last forever. The industry doesn't, so it churns it out in and out. I think the importance of character, that you will develop that. It's not about the record you just made. It's about what in this tune is going to take me to the next record as an idea. What motif in that tune will take me there? Not just going, I'm going to use the same sound in the next record. That was clever. But the idea, because every record for me is that, it's the idea of what I can do with that. Oh, okay. So after a while, you can navigate with your own music. You know what I mean? I didn't make music for like 5 years just because I paint. I don't need to. Because it serves seasonally for me. It's music and art is seasonal. And if you get enough under you, it just becomes that. You'll paint one time. And most of you guys, you're pretty multitasking because the life's multitasking. And, I've lost some records. I've lost some great tunes on hardware. Just software, just gone. And I've had to start again. So I've had to draw from my memory, my photograph of time, how I'm going to put this down again. But because I write notes on stuff like some mad geek, because I can't program, and I don't want to program, it allows me to, the second part of that came out better. Being able to just go, erase. Because technology, after 2%, man, a solar flare, you're going to lose a lot of it anyway. How far do you have it backed up? But having notebooks on paper is very important, especially when you're making that next step. If you're into somebody walks into your studio and you want to produce them, you've got to entertain them. You've got to get the best out of them, like anything. And I think working with musicians, and I find corrupting them almost. by taking what they normally would play and completely flip that over. Because, you know, I've had classically trained people that go in there and go, well, okay, I want you to play this. Bum, ba-dum, dee-bum, boom, doo-dum, ba-dum, da-dum, da. I go, what? I go, bum, ba-da-ba-dee-bum, dum, da-dum, da-dum, da. Okay, tell me what is in notes. They'll write the notes down. I go, right, okay. So as they're playing that, I'll say, stop. Now let's change that. And let's take that. And when I take that and sample and record that and layer that, I will almost cover it up and affect it in such a way, whether it's the MIDI that I take. You know, taking MIDI is really good in a really interesting way, because recording artists through MIDI and the, you know, metronomes catching, you know, melodines catching notes, it's obviously going, I can't hear their conversation, but I think I've got an idea about it. If you record that and then you look through the melodine and go, I don't want that one, I don't want that one, I don't want that one, there's a solid pattern. Often when you put that into a synth or a module, it'll give you something else. And the only way I can explain it is by going to a club and going to the nightclub and you hear a bass line that doesn't exist in the room that you just walked from. I always used to go and get B-lines by doing that. I'd go to the toilet, I'd go, yeah, wicked rave. It just misses a note. And you think, I've got that. I'm recording my phone, bam. And you've got another thing. And when you go back into the room, you're hearing all of the notes. It's about the ghost. Because that's what creates music. And sometimes that's one of the best ways to work. It's about too much pushing buttons and not enough listening. It's about the listening is really important, because all of it can be recorded now in such a good way. And it's very important that, you know, when you look at, for me, I'm very lucky to have blues from Art Blakey, you know, and I slept on pneumatic tapes of Art Blakey's drumming for years, because Gus Correll was a filmmaker and I lived with him. And he was my mentor and still is my mentor. He's like my dad. And watching jazz films and watching drummers working out from, you know, early drummers and looking at that and looking at how that's developed now within drum and bass music and bass culture and everything else. And also techno, in a way, it came from Detroit. I've been in Detroit where I remember being in Detroit when a guy would have 2 records. He had 2 pieces of metal that he engineered. He put a spool on the deck and it stood about 4 inches off. He put another screw on. He put a record on, he reversed the needle, put it on the underside with an elastic band of the other record, so the record's playing backwards and upside down. And he mixed 2 records from Enforcers, which is a label that we had on Reinforced. He didn't have much, but it's the application of the medium. You know, art and music is the application of a medium to a surface. That's art. Whether it's voice, dub plate, you know, writing on the wall, whatever. It's the application of a medium. So it's about what mediums we have to work with and how far we can take that and how far we can really look at putting stuff together. But for me, it's about the fact of going backwards to go forwards with music. To have stuff that's built on stuff. You know, a ring weighs 1/4 ounce. It's not the finished ring I like. It's what's behind the mold that's pushed that metal into that mold to make it, which is what good music is about. It's about looking at influence and taking on your influences in a really, you know, a really respectful way. I love that. You know, a lot of people, nah, man, old boy, man, whatever. Yeah, cool. They don't last 2 minutes. I see them come and go, in and out. There's the door, and they go out the door. You know, building music and building a catalogue of good collection of music is really interesting, I think. Cool. Any more questions?
Hello. I wanted to ask, what inspired you the most to start doing music?
New York, and I think New York for me, growing up and doing graffiti for so long and being in New York and hearing mixtapes from DJs and radio stations, WBLS, Kiss FM, I'd collect mixtapes and just listen to breaks. Because breakdancing was about putting 64 bars of a break or a minute all edited together, and you just keep working out to these breaks and wondering, where do they come from? And searching for them records, and then finding the breaks and then realising it was the break in the record and on the back end of a record, and then finding out that sample was actually from another artist, you know, which was interesting. So that was my love for music, and also mainly from being in institutes with like probably about as many kids as this in one place, in various institutes, children's homes, if you like. And I think the main love for the music came when there's a wall like the back white wall there with lockers that were brown, not as high obviously because you've got to reach them, you know. And every kid would play music on a Sunday, and they'd have it in turns at 15-minute intervals. Every 50 minutes you play music. So every kid's life was in that locker, because you used to go out on Saturday morning, buy a 7-inch record, or whatever records you like. So I collected records in coloured pens, and I would play them on a Sunday. So I just got to hear everyone's music. So from blues to jazz, you know, Public Image Limited, Squeeze, Up the Junction, The Jam, Steel Pulse, Marley, you know, it just came at me, man. And I think that my music isn't mine. It's all the other genres put together and just somebody cleverly arranging it, that's all.
Hi.
Hi,
I was going to ask you, but you kind of answered it already. I was saying whether you thought that the popularization of music makes it or it kills it, but you kind of...
It's always been the same. You know, I used to throw stones at people years and years ago, but it just makes our music sound better in that sense, because each one's music is, you know, if you're sitting opposite a table, it's a brown table to me. It's a brown table to that person too, man. You got to let them, you know, and especially growing up in a genre where it's still around 20 years later. See, I was saying in the car on the way up here, one of the really important things about how important this music is, from only my viewpoint, is only my opinion because it's the genre I come from. So we're not going to speak for everyone else. But I began creating drum and bass music with a lot of friends, and it became a monster. And we created a beast worldwide. It's gone everywhere. It's done everything. Washing up machines, commercials, mad, whatever else. Gentrification, you know, drum and buyback. It's everything. But I looked at music that I respected, like blues players that I really respect. Pat Metheny, you know, he's like a really good friend of mine now. You know, has been his biggest fan for years. Great guitar, unbelievable guitarist. New age jazz from blues stuff. And I've always respected different genres. This is a genre where I'm still in the genre, and 20 years later, the genre is still going as a genre, and I'm looking at people that are doing it. So yeah, I can't throw stones at kids when I was putting Phil Collins with an Amen break 20 years ago. Do you know what I mean? You got to let them have their time. You have to let people grow up in their own music. You know, and that's why with dubstep's the same thing. It came from us. You know, and it's a really great, funny story with Scream's brother Jack. Used to be at Blue Note every Sunday without fail. Scream couldn't get in. And it was one of those things that he was driven by the records that he would buy. And I love the fact that not only is the genre still here, but we spawned a genre. And that's what genres should do. You know, blues spawned that, jazz blues spawned that. And the thing is, not forgetting that culture does exactly what it says in the dictionary. It's culture. It will evolve. It will adapt. And that's kind of, there's no worry with that. I think it's about there's almost also this boom with the young kids now. They didn't grow up on it. They just hear it. So they don't have to know all the ins and outs of it. They just want, you know, especially with technology, because technology allowed them to go, I've got a playlist, and it's everything. It's more eclectic. It's probably as eclectic as we were with breaks when we first started doing this. We were all over the place. Breaks, as many breaks as we can. And music now with the young kids is like, dubstep, damn, bass, techno, damn, it's everything. And that's their lives. My daughter's 17. She's phoned me from a rave. And Dad, can you hear me? That bass line tune you played me? Oh my God, this guy just played a tune. It was just like it. And it was actually a tune by Pendulum called The Vault, which is on Doc Scott's label. And someone had just ripped it from a little. It was I think it was. Jump Up artist, and what was his name? And he took a little loop of it and just let it run, and it's like cheeky. But you got it. That's what it's there for, man. That's what it's there for, because that's what it's about. So in some respects, I think that the populace of the kind of buy now commercial aspect is overswamped and diluted a lot of stuff. And I think artists have to understand, if you're joining that as one cell of 1,000 cells that have been watered down, you ain't got much chance to swim. So the object is to get to dry land very quickly by creating your own stuff that you know people can't see. They can't follow you. Go through the door, lock the door. You know what I mean? If he's got a style of music and he does enough of it, you can't bite him that easy. So he just locks the door on it. We used to cover stuff up with hi-hats, so you couldn't take it. You're not having my hi-hat. You're not having my sound, we'll cover it up. So that's why it became so guarded. And by that time you become established, somebody's going to go, I can't go there, he's got a parking space already. It's important to do that. So that's why it's very important to be very original.
So how did you start out your label? Like, how did you go about it?
Metal has really started as I was I came back from New York. I was in London. I was seeing a DJ called Chemistry, and I went to a nightclub called Rage that she took me to. And I'd been in New York, inspired by Bristolians wearing goose downs and fairy hats, and going to this nightclub called Rage and being inspired by DJs. And I got to meet some guys from a label called Reinforced Records, and I started doing all the artwork for their labels because I'm an artist. So I did all the artwork. I overhauled the R and recreated Reinforced Records, and I was the one that was always going clubbing. And decided when I was going down every Thursday to Rage, I would take acetates down. And I like the idea of dub plate because I come from sound systems. So I thought, if I put a metal head, like a skull with headphones, photocopy, I cut it out, spray mount, stick it on. Because dub plates at that point were in reggae were just blank. So I wanted to give them identity because I wanted people to know that when they heard that record, it was coming from us. And a group of guys that you couldn't take out. It was like, 8 or 9 of us that were like doing different styles. And so Metalheads was the dub plate label before we actually did the final record, and it just became Metalheads, and that was it. And it was the logo was created because it was, the skull and headphones, which I've seen so many times in the last 20 years. Music will be here far after I'm gone, so I kind of like the idea of the kind of music and art thing, But I just started doing it from there, and the first record I actually did when I on my own before I actually joined Reinforced was a white label. And I actually got a potato and cut it out in reverse. It was Ajax Project. You can see it online. You just put Ajax Project Goldie, and it's a potato print with ink. And me, Chemistry, and Storm stayed up all night printing 500 of them on white labels. We all clubbed together, got the money for the record, went to Mo's Music, and in the back of an old Sierra, took these boxes of records and they distributed them and said, "You sold all of them. Come back next week." And that's how I started.
So, what would be like for DJs and producers? What are the best record companies for producers to be signed to?
None of them. Listen, that game's done changed, man. If you want to make really commercial music, then maybe that's going to be good for you. But I think independent labels are the way to go forward, most definitely, because that aspect, it's a bit like an economic collapse. The record industry's already went through the collapse because the internet came. You could do that online on your own by just putting up your SoundCloud and putting it out there. Your music's your music. There's so much of it out there. You just got to be stronger with it. I don't think if you're going to sign something to something, you might as well find a girl band or a boy band, get them together, rehearse, get the record together, go and contact the record company if that's what you want to do. Get an A&R man down and say, "Come and listen to this band. They're great." That's kind of just keep knocking the door and driving them mad. I mean, the thing about the A&R man, as we call them, are like ancient dinosaurs. They don't really exist anymore in record companies. You have the MD, and he has a couple of people that are scouts that will go, and most of them go to just live gigs looking for live bands. And they will scan your Facebook and all that stuff and look at who's peaking and liked, basically. That's how it works now with record companies. So independently, man, is the way to build that. Independently always is the best way to go forward.
Well, I was watching your SBTV episode, Producer's House, and it got me wondering. And I wanted to ask you whether you think there's a big difference between an engineer and a producer.
Big time. An engineer makes lots of tunes himself and does it there and then, and sometimes ends up having folders full of things unfinished. I think engineers have to have the respect and discipline, should I say, to become producers by knowing when to finish and when to start projects and be able to stand back from it. I've worked with many engineers. I've worked from Dillinger to Strider to Mark Seyfried to Diga. Probably 7 really good ones that I could span my entire collection of music. But the payback is that all of my music sounds the same from throughout. It has that same motif and sound, and that's important to retain your sound as a producer. Producer has a likening for certain flavour, and I guess it's up to the engineer. Sometimes an engineer has got to, if he's on I get paid X amount an hour, and he's producing everything, then his job is to go, okay, so what do we do next then? And usually engineers have their own curriculum of their own productions, and in exercising that, sometimes it's hard to pay the rent by just doing your own stuff because you're engineering and you want to have a studio. So engineering kind of split in the late 90s, where it was engineers that want to produce anything and any kind of music because they just love engineering because they're very techie, and engineers that want to become producers that want to create their own thing as artists. And it's electronic music especially is finite with that, and it's really important that, you know, I've worked with various engineers. I've worked with engineers in the field of kind of regular music, and they can't keep up with genres of music very well. They just seems to have something missing. Most engineers that I've worked with have obviously grown up in this music, which is important for my particular type. But I think it's really good to, as an artist, if you don't engineer, to work with lots of different engineers to try and see if you do have a feel for yourself, and you're not, because you've got to be out of your comfort zone too, you know. It's important. I've worked with guys on Sibelius, for example. And Sibelius is a different beast, you know what I mean? Because you're dealing with one sound from a viola layered 12 times, and you're putting all 12 pieces in, as opposed to me getting some really comfortable string loop that's got a whole chord in there already. It's beautiful, you know. So it's very important to work with lots of different engineers, and for engineers to work with different artists. It's one of those kind of, that exchange, really. I think it's important.
Do you feel your musical skill is complete? Have you reached all your musical targets, or are you still learning and looking to push boundaries?
I'm always on the journey, man. We did a show last night at the South Bank, and it was like 58-piece orchestra, full synths, and it was just full on. And it went from the first night being amazing to the second night being, did that happen? It just got even more up. And I'm lucky enough to be able to notate and create from blueprints my early electronic stuff, which is kind of standing up all right, to be able to expand it into stuff which is like, wow, there's more colour to this now. And that's really an exciting journey for me. It's almost like rebirth, that is, for me. I've got plenty more left in me. You know, we're recording an album in Thailand at the minute. I did the drums last year. I did 3 days of drums at Battery Studios. I'm a creature of habit. I like recording artists and recording them and just getting like bottles of wine and putting them away and going, it sounds like a year. Because I come from sample syntheticness. I come from that. My life is about, you know, I've got hard drives full of stuff which I don't know where it all is. I've got that. I know where it's all come from. And I think adding that with live musicians is nothing better than that. So we're looking at, you know, still touring the live stuff next year with the orchestra and with the synthetic stuff and doing that. And that's going down well. And I'm looking forward to Bristol tomorrow night. I mean, it's going to be epic, you know, tomorrow night. And I'm just very proud that the music can last that long. You know, just to a music that we said it wouldn't last 6 months. Not bad. But I think for me, painting and doing music simultaneously, I'm blessed, man. It's just a great thing to do. Keeps me young. I'm 50, going, come on, give me a break. Just enjoy it, you know, like, music has to be your salvation, man, at the end of the day. You know, when you've had life's hard enough for you guys anyway. You've got parents, and the music's the one, man. It's the one thing that can keep us. If you had to say to me eyes or ears, you can have me eyes here. You know what I mean? I prefer the sound of music, man.
Yeah, if you could travel back in time and you could see yourself with 18 years old, what advice would you give yourself?
For me, I think I always it's the belief system. Just believe that you can do it. There's a thing that I'll say on Saturday, and I'll tell you what it is. And you got it. It's a good question. I was told once by an old man, a drunk man, on a doorstep. I was painting at night, and he said to me, he looked at this piece of graffiti that I painted. He went, that's really good, man. How good that? He went, look, kid, don't wish too hard because it might come true. You know, and I think that always stuck with me, that if I keep doing stuff long enough, something's got to give. It's not going to be me. You've got to keep putting a tune under your belt, keep putting a production, a painting under your belt. It's not about the immediate tune, man. It's about, before you know it, you've got 30. Before you know that, you've got 40. And your artillery, that having that backing is the same backing I was talking about behind this. Because the next record that gets made, you've got 40 behind it. It's got to be right. And if I can't get it right at 50, something's wrong. Do you know what I mean? So it's about keeping the momentum and not giving up. And I think that stayed with me, that fact of knowing that I belong somewhere, but it wasn't quite here. and knowing that I was going to go somewhere. That's the most important thing.
Thank you very much.
Great. Okay, so we just want to say thanks to Mix Radio for hosting us here today. Thank you to Temple Records for your incredible tracks. And thank you to Bristol Music Trust for making this happen. And of course, Goldie for his brilliant insights. And of course, a round of applause for yourselves. Thank you, everybody.